Israel is losing out. They're losing the media war despite their connections. They are losing the media war. The tide is turning.
What are their connections?
Deep pockets.
Okay, Assalamu alaikum. So just on top of this Israel-Palestine issue, or I would rather say this Israel extremism on Palestine, this Israeli occupation, genocide, and ethnic cleansing of Palestinians, one of the things that is often neglected is the use of language or the use of biased and prejudiced language by Western media against the Muslims. Not many people pay much interest to this use of language, how language has an emotional meaning and an objective meaning, and the Western media are they deliberately use specific words for Muslims for a very long time now. For past 2 or 3 decades now, they have been using certain words only with Muslims to justify almost anything. You know, these words that are just being shown: terrorists, jihadis, terrorism, terrorist attacks, suicide bombings, uh, they will use these emotionally quoted words against the Muslims and alternate euphemistic words for non-Muslims, right? So terrorist would be replaced with forces, or jihadis would be replaced with groups. Terrorism would be replaced with self-defense, terrorist attack with shootings, suicide bombings with bombings. And here is another list that I've made. Uh, so this is a very dirty tactics used by the Western media, and this language is actually part of the media war. I repeat, this language is actually the part of media war, fifth generation warfare. So these kind of negatively, emotionally quoted words are used to subjugate the Muslims, right? This language has a subjugating tone, a racist tone, a supremacist tone, a superiority complex tone, and Muslims should know this and they should turn the tables around. But what's happening is that one should also realize that most of the electronic mainstream media, and the social media are controlled by the West as well, controlled by United States and the West as well. So Muslims should try to use alternate words so that they don't get censored. If you use the word terrorist with United States or Israel, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, whatever social media, they will censor it. We know that. So Muslims should be wary of this social media war, this electronic media war, and they should use, I think, alternate words which may not be censored. They should create their own words and popularize them against non-Muslims, like genocide, mass murder, ethnic cleansing. These are already used. They should think of more words. And I think in order to win this social media war, one should master the art of language, right? Because Muslims are not the kind of people who will be easily subjugated, because they are large in number. So next time, whenever you hear these kind of words, cult, terrorist, associated with Muslims, do remember these words are only created to justify anything, right? So if you attach this word terrorist with a Muslim, so you can justify killing, you can justify murder. That's how Western neoliberal fascist mindset works. And one should always be wary of this kind of stuff. that one should call out these things. Not just Muslims, but non-Muslims should call out this bias, prejudiced, hate propaganda by the Western media, and put an end to this Western supremacy, Western imperialism, this media war that the West is playing against the Muslims now for a very long time. I think it's time for Muslims to say enough is enough. It's time for non-Muslims to say enough is enough. So, I mean, it's so pathetic when the United States of America says that Israel has the right of self-defense, and for Hamas they say that they are a terrorist organization. I mean, it's equivalent of saying that Israel, you keep murdering Muslims, you keep murdering Palestinians, but Hamas, you stop. Palestinians, you stop. So that's how they play with language. The actual meaning they try to project is something else. The actual meaning they try to project is whatever Israel is doing, killing innocent civilians, they should continue, but Palestinians should stop. And so this art of language, Muslims should know about it, and they should openly call this out. I would really recommend this short article written by Robert H. Thowles, Straight and Crooked Thinking, in which he talked about how a word actually has two meanings, right? An emotionally quoted meaning and an objective meaning. And he said always objective meaning should be used. But the problem is because emotionally quoted words are biased. That's what the academics are saying, and it's unbelievable. This West, the epitome of education, who calls themselves the epitome of education, I mean, they are the most biased. Their media is the most biased. One should recognize this, call this out, so that this Western supremacy, Western racism, this clash of civilizations by West against the Muslims and the Arab world should end.
When there's occupation, when there's genocide, when there's war crime, when there's ethnic cleansing,